Time now for our Rants and Raves, starting with you, Adam.
I hate to double up on a segment we did, but I have to isolate something that Rick Santelli, who's the guy from CNBC who gave the infamous rant that led to the Tea Party, something he said about the coronavirus a few days ago. Let's take a look.
Maybe we'd be just better off if we gave it to everybody, and then in a month it would be over, because the mortality rate of this probably isn't going to be any different if we did it that way than the long-term picture. But the difference is we're wreaking havoc on global and domestic economies.
So obviously, right off the bat, profoundly stupid.
Yeah.
He has no idea what he's talking about. One thing I hate hearing those comments is that there are going to be people at home watching who've heard the president say that the media is exaggerating this because they're out to get him. They're not going to take this as seriously as we all need to, as we see how it evolves. The other thing is, points up for me the fact that the impact on the stock market has been covered as an equal concern to the health concern. By the way, so full disclosure, I don't have as much money in the stock market as I would like to. I have some. I'd like to not lose it. But I think it's so much more important that this is handled in a way that preserves human life as opposed to keeps the markets calm and stable. So I saw that. I could not believe those words passed his mouth. He has apologized, to his credit. Sounded penitent when he apologized.
All right. Jorge, what do you got?
Well, I don't rant as much as some friends of mine.
I'm not ranting today.
But I just burst out laughing when I got the New Yorker, this week's New Yorker, and there is Trump on the cover, and with a surgical mask covering his eyes.
Yeah.
I thought this was right on the money in terms of his approach to this has been. He's minimizing it to the point of almost making it trite at the beginning. Not trite, but, very, not important
at all.
Go to
work with it.
Yeah, go to work with it. And then his his experts are saying, wait a second, this is more serious. And he's concerned more about the impact on the markets than on health. I just thought this was very
That's a rave, I guess. Okay, good. All right, Dan Lothian.
Yeah, so I have a rave for Brian Carmody. He is a freelance videographer, a stringer out in San Francisco, and just got a settlement against the police department in San Francisco for $369,000 after they burst into his home and also his office and seized his computer and tablets and phones and so forth. And what were they looking for? Well, he had gotten inside information from within the police department.
Breaking in, I take it.
Yeah, there they are breaking in. I believe that's into his office, but breaking in when they seized all of his equipment. And he had gotten information from within the police department about the death of a legal official in San Francisco, and they wanted to find out who his source was. So they went after him. There were a lot of concerns around this, even beyond his case, how this could potentially impact journalists broadly, right? Because so much of the work that investigative journalists do, or journalists in general, is having sometimes unnamed sources who can give you information. And what happens when, you find out that police can come in and find electronic devices in your home and whatever it is you have and track down where that came from.
That gave him the...
So it was a settlement that they reached with the city. There was a lawsuit that he had filed against the police department. So it's a victory for him, certainly, but it's not over yet because there are a lot of questions about, well, how did this happen? The police department did get some documents, some legal entry into his home and his office from the courts. So there are questions about what they used. What was the pretense to be able to go in and go after a journalist like this?
They used a bad crowbar.
Yeah, exactly.
The video,
the
Keystone
to get in there.
All right, what do you got, Mike?
I got a rant. At the risk of piling on NBC and MSNBC, for Brian Williams last night on his 11th hour show, talking about how much money, $500 million, that Michael Bloomberg has spent in the campaign on advertising. Take a look.
Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads, U.S. population 327 million. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over.
Okay, so do the math real quickly. 500 million divided by 327. That's $1.53 per person.
Yeah.
It's not $1 million.
How could he have that wrong?
Well, how could he have that wrong is the question. There was a woman with him, Maura Gay, who's an editorial writer at the New York Times, and they both lamented this. They said this was very distressing after the statistic played. And then he realized he made a mistake, came out of the break and said, we made a mistake, we're bad at math. But the thing that gets me about this is They took this tweet from a reporter who worked for Glamour magazine and some other magazines. They used it, so somebody had to put it in the show. Somebody had to make the graphic. The editorial oversight was just unbelievable, and I think also as a news anchor, I just can't believe it. You have to be the gatekeeper of last resort and get this stuff.
I have a rave for our colleague John Keller, who's not here this week, but last week he was lamenting the fact that the media had already coronated Bernie Sanders. Here's what he said.
There's another example right there. The front runner. Ooh, if Joe Biden wins South Carolina and then does well on Super Tuesday, it's going to be all about how Bernie is spiraling. You know, it's ridiculous. Let the news unfold before you characterize it in such a sweeping way.
That's not what we do, John. You know that. Good one, though.